K-pop demon hunters Saja Boy's breakfast meal and Huntrix meal have just dropped at McDonald's. They're calling this a battle for the fans. What do you say to that, Rumi?
It's not a battle. So glad the Saja Boys could take breakfast and give our meal the rest of the day.
It is an honor to share.
No, it's our honor.
It is our larger honor.
No, really. Stop.
You can really feel the respect in this battle. Pick a meal to pick a side.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
At participating McDonald's while supplies last.
Morning decisions. How about a creamy mocha frappuccino drink? Or sweet vanilla? Smooth caramel, maybe? Or a white chocolate mocha? Whichever you choose, delicious coffee awaits. Find Starbucks Frappuccino drinks wherever you buy your groceries.
This is Dr. Andrew Rimby. Thanks for joining us here in the Ivory Tower Boiler Room. If you don't know, you can get all of our episodes ad-free on Patreon, patreon.com/Ivory Tower Boiler Room. All of Mary's true crime episodes ad-free, video episodes ad-free from the ITBR interviews. Also, follow us on Instagram, please, Ivory Tower Boiler Room. I like to put a lot of exciting arts and culture clips from the podcast, TV shows, films that we've discussed. TikTok is Dr.Andrew Rimby. Long story, the Ivory Tower Boiler Room one got taken off by TikTok because it was too salacious and scandalous, in my opinion. But I might be just having an Oscar Wilde complex there, thinking, that I was causing such a sensation on TikTok. So please rate us on Apple. It really, really helps. Review us. If you're on Spotify, you can rate us there too. YouTube, please follow our YouTube channel. Please like the video, share it with your friends, your community. The only way that I can keep giving you all free, exciting podcast episodes is because of the reach of the podcast. So rating us, reviewing us, it really, really does help. Also, shout out to Sean, our intern, who, if you see the cover art, you see the edits of the podcast, that's all Sean. So amazing work by Sean. So I hope you all enjoy this episode. And we're back to Biased Justice, part 2, here with Mary, who, you all are going to hear her reading chapter 2, which I'm excited about.
Thank you. Chapter 2 is a very information dense chapter. And it is a lot of backstory, which, if you know from my true crime episodes, you know that the backstory is something that I find to be very important because it does explain a lot about how people see the world and, gives you kind of an idea of how they make decisions based off of those things.
Yeah, I definitely am into the salacious, juicy, sensational details of a story, and I love all the references to films and books. I think it's great that you are the voice of chapter 2, Mary, because you're right. That's what you do in true crime is you dig into those facts and you really lay out every spider web of the story. So yeah, here, everyone's going to hear from Mary. So here's chapter 2. Okay. So we're back, and Mary had so many questions she wanted to ask Dimitri. And if you heard part 1, if you didn't, make sure you listen to it or watch it, because Dimitri's giving us, through his friend Alex, answers to questions from each chapter. So I think it's nice to have this more layers to the story to hear from Dimitri's own personal account. So, we're going to have you all listen to the question and then Mary's going to respond. So here we go.
What surprised you the most about New York City culture when you first arrived to America?
The day after I arrived in New York City, I had to take a train to Brooklyn, where I was hoping to find a place to rent. When I descended into the subway, I came upon a group of homeless people who were dressed in drags. Some of them had pieces of cardboard asking for spare change in order to get something to eat. I had never met a homeless person before. In the Soviet Union, we had a safety net that wouldn't allow a person to wind up on the street. But here I was in one of the wealthiest cities in the world, and there were homeless people all around me. And what surprised me the most was not just the homeless, but that the people who were about to board the train acted as if the homeless did not even exist, even though they were only a few feet away.
The caller has hung up.
I mean, talk about a more like nuanced picture of our culture. Like the fact that like we can see issues right in front of our faces and just blatantly ignore them and be totally fine with it and move on with our day.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he's saying this is the wealthiest city, and like being from the Soviet Union, which, you know, has its history and things that are going on, but that they wouldn't have someone who's homeless, or someone wouldn't end up homeless because the government would chip in or support
Exactly.
them. It's like, oh, maybe the US's policies aren't as modern or up to date as they can be. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And again,
interesting.
just the blatant ignoring of someone.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
become normalized that unhoused people have become invisible. People have made them invisible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is really sad.
Yeah.
It's sad, and it's sad that our country isn't systemically doing anything to help.
Agreed.
America. Okay. Here's the next question.
Yeah, it's one of those. I can't say I'm surprised, but also
Yes. No.
How did the loss of your dog Misha impact you emotionally, and why was it important to include that in your narrative?
Thank you for having me on your show. I think most of us have experienced some dramatic event in life that we keep returning to. By that I mean some event that makes us wonder, what if it didn't occur? Would our lives turn out differently? So while in prison, with plenty of time for contemplation, I kept returning in my mind to this incident that seemed to have set into motion the sequence of events that ultimately led to my parents getting divorced and me immigrating to the United States. This incident was the death of my pequeños Misha. One day, when I was about 14, I came home from school, turned the key into the lock of a door, and to my surprise discovered that Misha wasn't waiting for me. I entered the kitchen where my mother was cooking dinner and asked her about the dog. She told me that Misha lost an eye in a fight with another dog, and she had asked the building superintendent to put him down. I was completely at a loss for words when my mother told me that. I would rather have my dog with a missing eye than not to have him at all. I included this little story in the narrative because it signified a turning point in my life that ultimately led to the breakdown of our entire family.
The caller has hung up.
that is that's interesting and also like extremely insightful in a way that because each of us are so nuanced and so obviously different, which sounds so cliche, but you know, you could perceive that story in so many different ways as to how he took it and why it's important to him. So it's just always so interesting to hear from the person themselves saying this is why. And, you know, for me this was different than I guess what I anticipated him to say.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, you really can hear his empathy shining through.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is important, right? Especially with the
Right.
case that, we're being presented with
Mm-hmm.
by the court of law and how they're trying to paint him out to be. So,
Correct.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And again, to see how that kind of, like he said, like that put his thoughts into coming into America into motion, because that more so fractured his relationship with his mom, which
Mm,
again was something that didn't necessarily even cross my mind. And if it did, it
yeah.
was like maybe for a split second, because I was just more focused on how does this death affect him
Mm.
versus the circumstances around it.
Yes, yes. Yeah, I feel like he continues to really impress me with, like, he's not centered on just his perspective, but he's centered on um how he interacts, or how people around him interact with each other, or
Mm.
how they're affected by what he's a part of. Um yeah. Okay. Here is our next question.
Was it difficult to navigate the divorce between your parents?
When my parents divorced, my father moved to Moscow. He was an art dealer who often traveled to different cities in search of underpriced works of art. Even when he was living with my mother and I saw him infrequently. But after my parents divorced, I got to see him only during the summer school break or when he traveled to Kiev. So now that he was living in Moscow, our relationship grew even more distant. Before my parents divorced, my mother was always interested in my affairs and how I did at school. A few months after the divorce, she slid into depression and started using sleeping pills. Sometimes she spent days alone in bed. She became emotionally withdrawn and not interested about what was happening around her. So my parents getting divorced impacted me as well. I began to feel alienated, not only from my father, but also from my mother.
The caller has hung up.
That's so sad, because like you hear about a lot of children who are, children of divorce, and you have some kids that come out and they're like, no, that was the best thing, because, my parents could actually be happy, and it was great to see them both be happy, and they were able to give us more of the love and attention that they couldn't, because, it was taken up by their fighting, or, this, that, and the third. And then you have situations like this where, I feel like at this point we've tried to at least say in our society that the right thing to do to explain to a child of divorce that it's not their fault.
Mm-hmm.
But very much in this situation with the alienation on from both parents, and obviously with the mother having depression, that's a completely different layer of things,
Mm-hmm.
where you can't put full blame on her. But, again, it still doesn't change the way he perceived this alienation.
Mm-hmm. As a child.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah, as a child, you children do not process things with an awareness that you have as you mature, and, hopefully as an adult can process more mature things. I mean,
Right.
some adults in our society leave a lot of question marks for me, but
Mm-hmm.
um yeah, well, and also to have a substance issue with your mother
Mm-hmm.
and how she's experiencing that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot to go through as a child.
Yeah.
And I haven't yet heard about a sibling, so I'm not sure like
Yeah.
what
If
that situation is like.
right. Because especially like the birth order of things sometimes usually affects how children perceive that. For example, older children usually see themselves as sort of a pseudo caregiver to their younger siblings, because at the end of the day now they're the ones that are mostly around them.
Yeah.
It's not mom or dad, it's them now. So
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. They feel like they need to step up to just take care of their siblings and make sure their siblings are supported somehow. The spring season is here, which means there's a new issue of the Gay and Lesbian Review called Victorian Times, all about my favorite period of literature, the 19th century. And you'll see a rugged Walt Whitman on the cover and the dandy Oscar Wilde. Well, guess what? My first article is now published in the Gay and Lesbian Review called Once Upon a Time in Camden. It's the intro to my book, which looks into their queer literary relationship, but also Whitman and Wilde's homoerotic poetics, and specifically what Whitman does with male same-sex desire before the category of homosexuality even existed. Like, how did he even express this in his poetry? Well, you'll have to read my book to find out. Book coming soon. If you know of a publisher, let me know. I'm shopping around right now. But this Victorian issue is so special with the Gay and Lesbian Review. There's articles on Dr. Jekyll and Victor Frankenstein. I'm about to see The Bride, which I can't wait to see. And right, Guillermo del Toro's new Frankenstein is all the rage. There's an article on Monte Cristo's Women in Love, Tchaikovsky's Men. I love Tchaikovsky's ballet. I'm particularly an admirer of The Sleeping Beauty. One on Captain Cobb. There's film and TV shows reviewed like Heated Rivalry, Boots, Kiss of the Spider Woman, which, if you don't know, I had an episode with Jeremy Fox from the Gay and Lesbian Review, the managing editor, and Colin Carmen and Joseph Federico, and we talked all about Heated Rivalry. You have to listen to it. And Kiss of the Spider Woman, I keep recommending to everyone. It is an astounding film. Boots, I actually had the creator Greg Cope White on the podcast too. You'll have to listen to his interview. Also, if you haven't heard our episode on the kink issue of the magazine, it's really, really interesting. And the ethnography one. And yes, there will be an episode soon about the Victorian issue. So get your hands on the Gay and Lesbian Review.
USAA knows dynamic duos can save the day, like superheroes and sidekicks or auto and home insurance. With USAA, you can bundle your auto and home and save up to 10%. Tap the banner to learn more and get a quote at USAA.com/bundle. Restrictions apply.
With Plan B emergency contraception, we're in control of our future. It's backup birth control you take after unprotected sex that helps prevent pregnancy before it starts. It works by temporarily delaying ovulation, and it won't impact your future fertility. Plan B is available in all 50 U.S. states at all major retailers near you, with no ID, prescription, or age requirement needed. Together, we've got this. Follow Plan B on Insta at Plan B One Step to learn more. Use as directed.
The digital subscription is really easy to get, glreview.org. The print subscription also, head on over to the website, click subscribe, use the promo code ITBR choice. You get a free issue of the magazine. Choose the Victorian issue, will you? So head to their Instagram, their TikTok. I love the Gay and Lesbian Review. I get so many book recommendations, TV show, film recommendations. One of the films that I can't wait to watch is in this issue. I want to say it's pronounced Pillion or Pillion. I think I made it French there, with Alexander Skarsgård. So enjoy your reading, everyone. And if you're reading the Gay and Lesbian Review, please reach out to me. I want to let them know, that you all listening to this podcast are reading their magazine. Now that the spring semester is here, I am so excited to let you all know about a publisher, an independent publisher that's celebrating 40 years of great books, called Broadview Press. I love Broadview Press. I have so many of their editions of classic literature like Wuthering Heights, which is coming out soon, and it's our book club choice. And they have so many academic books for instructors and for students and the general public. So I've had so many exciting guests on, from guests talking about The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, guests talking about vampire literature, horror literature. I'm looking at you, Jeffrey Andrew Weinstock, whose book actually just came out called Horror Theory. Look it up. And I cannot wait because I have two exciting guests coming on soon. And I've recorded their episodes, so I know that it's going to be such an interesting conversation. The first is Rachel Tucholsky, who wrote a book called Writing on Fire, a fierce yet friendly guide to writing humanities essays in college. I've used excerpts of it for my Writing 2 course at Montclair. It has gone over so well. I just love what Rachel does, and we get into this in our episode about this metaphor about writing on fire, like how that's a great way to think about free-flowing, brainstorming, creative ideas, and getting into that flow state, which, as Rachel explains, happens not just in writing, but in many other avenues. And then the other guest that I have on is David Starkey, who wrote a book called Academic Writing Now, A Brief Guide for Busy Students. It is designed to cover the basics of a college writing course in a concise, student-friendly format. Each chapter concentrates on a crucial element of composing an academic essay and is capable of being read in a single sitting, which, you know, for a generation, myself included, I think all of us now, just consumed by digital media or just this attention-grabbing technology, reading in a single sitting is definitely a plus. So head to Broadview Press, use the promo code Ivory Tower, and you'll get 20% off every single book in their collection. There's also a really cool digital library collection they have. So if you're a librarian, take a look at that. Message me. If you're a librarian, I'd be happy to show you what that new collection looks like. And I hope you all enjoy your reading. Yeah. Oh, okay. So here's the next question.
Dimitri, I know that you took a trip to the Dominican Republic in search of a factory that would make cigars for your startup. Did anything unusual happen on that flight?
When I was on the plane to the Dominican Republic, I learned from a passenger next to me that he was traveling there in search of a cigar factory. Just like myself, he was a novice in the business, and his plan was to have someone make cigars for his cigar brand, Comandante. He even had the cigar bands with Comandante in bold letters. So while he and I were having a conversation, he pulled from his shirt pocket one of these bands and asked for my opinion about what I thought of the name and the design in the band. To me, the name Comandante brought to mind the image of Fidel Castro. And I thought to myself, he was more detractors than admirers. I also thought the name was too long. So I covered with my thumb the first 5 letters on the band. And instead of Comandante, now the band had already Dante. I saw by the smile on his face that he really liked Dante as a new name for his brand. So a year later, I was at a cigar convention in Las Vegas, and to my surprise, I ran into this man again. He was standing behind a display showcasing red-colored cigar boxes with the name Penta on them. He actually shook my hand and thanked me for the suggestion I made on that plane.
The caller has hung up.
I just thought that was such a cool story. You know, because what are the odds of getting on an airplane, going to the same location for the same reason, and then, you know, having this moment? And as someone who works in marketing, I was like, that's genius. So like it felt very much as like a mic drop kind of moment in that chapter.
Yeah,
so
it does. Yeah, that was, again, like very creative and has a really good intuition.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Which, in my opinion, I know we're like trying to stay away from any judgments, but I don't know. I just have a very hard time thinking that the person who we're talking with, and the person whose story we've been reading and absorbing is
Mm-hmm.
someone who could be that vindictive.
Right.
But, I mean, I know that people can be very magnetic and manipulative, like accuse those who've been found
Mm-hmm.
guilty. But yeah, I'm not getting a sociopathic reading.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And just to not, I guess, play devil's advocate a little bit, on the flip side, just because someone is on paper a terrible human being, that also doesn't make them a killer. So,
Yes, that's true. Just because, well, this is what Dimitri's showing us, that our legal system in America and in so many countries
mm-hmm.
is flawed, and also paints a picture. And I mean, especially with, I'm sure we'll get to this in later chapters with asking Dimitri this, but like the rehabilitation process that happens with
Mm-hmm.
um those who were prisoners, and when they get released, and how like so many uh policies don't exist to help fully rehabilitate, and how workplaces discriminate against those who were in prison, no matter like what the charge
Mm-hmm.
is, or what they were convicted of, I should say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Our system. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Here's our next question.
How did you process the grief over losing your mother?
So during my last year at Cornell, about 3 weeks before the final exams were about to start, I received a call from my mother. Her voice sounded like she was being tortured. She said, "I can't handle this anymore. I'm home. I need you to be with me." I didn't take this call seriously because she made similar calls before. I told her that I couldn't come home because the finals were about to start. This wasn't exactly true because, as I already mentioned, the finals were actually 3 weeks away. The next morning, I received a call from my mother's friend. She asked if I was planning to travel to Kiev. I told this woman that I wasn't planning on making this trip. And then she asked if I had someone in mind who was going to handle the funeral. Only then did I realize that my mother had committed suicide. So to answer your question, my grief for the loss of my mother is mixed with a feeling of guilt that I could have prevented it. Whenever I think about my mother, I have the lingering regret instead of a sense of closure.
The caller has hung up.
Oh.
The caller has hung up.
So sad. Like, it's already a jarring moment to find out when she passes and that she does commit suicide. But he does not mention in the book or in that chapter that she had reached out to him to come home. But also, again, like, that's a horrible situation to be in, because it's not like, excuse me, it's not like he's, a car ride away. Like, he has to book a flight, figure out like, there's so much more involved
Yeah.
other than just, heading over there
Yeah.
within like
And
10 minutes,
when he says he received a lot of calls like this from his mom,
Mm-hmm.
How did he know like this was going to be the time when she was following through with like ideation like this? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
well, again, like it begs the question, like what's also sad is, where's her support system, or like who's around her in Kyiv.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's not his responsibility.
Exactly. But also, again, I can see as like, as her child, especially the one that she reached out to, like, you know, how that could absolutely weigh on you. But again, to your point, like, there is no reason for him to feel guilty or responsible for what happened and the way that she chose to handle her hardships.
Yes.
So, you know, but again, I can't, it's one of those unavoidable where it's easier said than done because it's, you know, yeah, you shouldn't, but at the same time, how can you not also?
Yeah. He like keeps blaming himself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we can totally see how that would replay in your mind. Oh, yeah. Okay, here's our last question.
How do you weigh in on the Ukrainian and Russian conflict / war going on, since you were immersed in both cultures?
I grew up in Ukraine in the 70s and 80s. Throughout that time, we had many Russian neighbors, and I never observed any animosity between the Ukrainians and Russians. In fact, there were a lot of intermarriage. When the war was about to start, I actually thought that the Russians were bluffing. It was hard for me to accept the possibility that the people whom I considered a friendly nation were going to attack my home country. And when I saw on television the atrocities the Russians committed in Bucha and other places, I was shocked. So considering the scale of these atrocities, I think it will take a generation or two before the friendly relationship between the Russians and the Ukrainian people are reestablished. In the meantime, I don't believe the Ukrainians will agree to surrender any territory. They're proud people, many of whom are willing to sacrifice their own lives rather than surrender their land. I don't know what is the best solution to this war. In my opinion, the United States and European governments need to do everything possible to cripple the Russian economy. When this happens, then real negotiations for peace could begin. Unfortunately, until then, and against our best hopes and wishes, we're likely to witness a continued war of attrition.
The caller has hung up.
Welcome to Severed, a podcast week dropping new episodes every Monday. Severed True Crime and Severed Paranormal episodes deep dive into murder, mysteries, and the otherworldly in a concise format. A 7-minute story to frame the case with thoughtful analysis and our usual banter.
We sometimes find the lighter side of darker cases. We offer 3 spin-off shows, Severed Strange Stories, Severed Haunted You, and Severed Serial Killers that highlight the unusual to lighthearted topics from the digital dumpsters of true crime, haunted universities, and the minds of madness like Ted Bundy and Jeffrey Dahmer.
We are your co-hosts. I'm Harry Chambers.
And I'm Drew Hudson. Listen on all major podcast platforms, including Rogue Media Network and Radio Garden State. Follow us on Instagram at severed_podcast.
Think Verizon is expensive? Think again. Anyone can bring their AT&T or T-Mobile bill to a Verizon store today, and we'll give you a better deal. So bring us your bill. Walk in, run in, pogo stick in, teleport if you can. Ride on the back of a rollerblading yak or fly in on the wings of a majestic falcon. Any way you can, bring your AT&T or T-Mobile bill to a Verizon store today, and we'll give you a better deal on the best network. Based on Root Metrics Best Overall Mobile Network Performance, U.S. second half 2025. All rights reserved. Must provide very recent postpaid consumer mobile bill in the name of the person redeeming the deal. Additional terms, conditions, and restrictions apply.
Pros, just because something on the job runs out doesn't mean you have to. Order it on the Lowe's app. My Lowe's Pro Rewards members get free same-day delivery on eligible orders over $25. Get the fasteners, hardware, or tools you need to keep the job moving. Order by 2 p.m. and get eligible in-stock items delivered right to your job site by 8 p.m. Members get more at Lowe's. Loyalty program subject to terms and conditions. Subject to availability. Restrictions and terms at lowes.com/shipping terms. Subject to change.
Are you a fan of classic Hollywood movies?
Are you a fan of queer cinema?
Then do we have the podcast for you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Christian Garcia.
And I'm Luke Del Mar.
And we are your hosts of That Old Gay Classic Cinema, where we take a look at some of the greatest films of all time and analyze them through a queer theoretical lens.
Let's be honest. LGBTQIA plus people have been a part of Hollywood since its inception, and this podcast celebrates those artists and entertainers of yesteryear while also taking a closer look at the queer-coded characters and stories in classic Hollywood films long before queer representation entered the mainstream.
So follow us down the road of classic cinema as we give you a guide to some of the films that touched our hearts, brains, and even gave us courage to be ourselves.
You can listen to That Old Gay Classic Cinema wherever you get your podcasts, and be sure to follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok.
All right, listeners, we're ready for our close-up.
It's so interesting to hear, someone else's perspective. I feel like we always hear the American or the USA skewed version of things and, don't actually get to hear real perspectives from those in the European nations. So, to hear his response, especially as someone who is so closely intermeshed in those cultures, to hear their take on it, I think is very, very refreshing.
Yeah, I actually have someone I've started to talk to more and meet through the Secaucus Library, and she works there, and she's from Ukraine, and her name's Anna, and she hosts this Ukrainian women's literature. Yeah. Or she's the national education chair for UNWLA, which is a Ukrainian women's organization. So they're always reading Ukrainian authors, and
oh wow,
she has a Ukrainian literature section in the library. So I've started getting more interested in reading Ukrainian authors, and one of them, Sam Watchman or Walkman, I don't know how to pronounce it yet, but he wrote this book called The Sunflower Boys, which is it's a queer Ukrainian literary text. So I'm curious to get into that. But yeah, I agree. I think hearing from someone else, Anna has talked a lot and taught me about the Ukrainian-Russian conflict and the Russian aggression and how we need to inform ourselves with actually reputable sources. Because you're right, America is being fed such propaganda, and people aren't realizing that they're listening or watching channels that just feed the right-wing view of things.
Yeah, and if anything, it was kind of just nice to know that, we're thinking the right, that we are understanding the situation as it's really happening, and not
that Russia is the aggressor.
Exactly.
That you could say Russia's the aggressor and that not be something that is debatable.
Yeah, Russia 1,000% started this. That shouldn't, the fact that that's even a question.
Yeah. It would be questioning, Netanyahu's war crimes in Gaza, which has been debatable to people who, are in the pockets of AIPAC. And that's a problem in our government. Or people who've lost jobs because they spoke out about Palestinian rights, like Melissa Barrera and, even, Susan Sarandon, but she has enough of a name and safety net. But yeah, it's so important to hear from the people who are involved in these conflicts, who know people in these conflicts, not just someone who has an opinion that, thinks they're always right in and doesn't fact check anything. That's like what just frustrates me
Mhm.
about these like influencers who promote misogyny, like the manosphere guys, or like just because someone's loud, that doesn't mean they're right.
Yeah. In fact, I just
Like,
saw recent I forget where it came from. I think it was Denzel Washington, and I'm not sure which movie of his it was, but he was saying the loudest person in the room is the weakest,
mm-hmm. Yeah.
which makes sense because if that's what they have to resort to in order to get their point across, then yeah, makes
Exactly.
sense.
They're not able to have a debate in a critical way. They need
Mhm.
to resort to name calling or, yeah, causing being aggressive. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, I think we see that with even Trump recently came out and said, he was like as honest as he's ever been. He's like, oh, I like to be around losers because I like when people worship or look up to me. And I'm like, okay, this is exactly what everyone's saying is this
Mhm.
guy is weak and only wants like admirers and people to applaud him.
Mhm.
It's like so just egotistically.
Mhm.
I mean, he's like a narcissist. I think they describe it as a narcissist with like a wound or a wounded narcissist.
Yeah. I could see that. I mean, narcissist
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I just have this vision of all the like powerful women like going to Mar-a-Lago and just banging on his door. I think he'd be so scared.
Mhm. And
Women
I would love
scare him
that.
so much. Powerful women.
I
Ugh,
wish they scared him more.
I know. Like Hillary Clinton, he really has a thing about Hillary Clinton.
But also, how much does Hillary Clinton really know about him that she's not
Yeah,
saying?
that's
You
true.
know, I don't want to act like, it's only him in the Epstein files, but her husband's in there too. So, you
Yeah.
know, I don't
You're
think she
saying
doesn't
she,
not know things. Or at
yeah,
least maybe she doesn't know in an official capacity, but I'm sure she has
yeah.
her inklings
Oh
as
yeah,
to
she
what
probably
he
has
was
so much
involved in.
she probably um you know, is biting her tongue so much she could just like expose so many of these powerful men,
Hmm.
which I would live for. I think she deserves to have a redemption arc that she's like never been the one who's the problem. It's her husband.
Yeah, unfortunately though, and this is just my personal opinion, I don't
Yeah.
think she's gonna rat on anyone until he's dead.
Mm. Yeah.
Because I'm sure, and everyone, I mean, it's not that this isn't a hot take, the fact that he's been involved in some extremely shady things, so it wouldn't be surprised that if any of
Yeah.
those type of horrific crimes that he's committed come out. However, though, I just don't think she's going to put herself in a position where she can say that other people did it without automatically incriminating him.
True.
So therefore,
True.
I don't know that she would say anything until he's in the clear.
Mm. Yeah.
And I don't see that happening in
Yeah.
his lifetime.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just curious, like, who's the person who knows everything, who's like not complicit, but knows everything that happened?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know who. Uh, the survivors
Mm-hmm.
who
Exactly.
we
The
should
ones who have been
all
speaking up and saying, hi, this has been
listen to.
happening.
Yeah, they were just interviewed by, oh my goodness, I want to get the interview right. Um, Shoot. It was an amazing, so important conversation. Oh, Kara Swisher.
Mm.
And I think someone else interviewed them too. Um, It might have been Katie Couric, but I might be wrong about that. But yeah, look up like the Epstein survivors, listen to their words, believe them.
Mm-hmm.
Virginia Guffrey's book is really important. Yeah. I know. We're in like the upside down.
Literally.
I mean, but being at the No Kings rally, I really am March. Like, we really saw how, so many people are against this administration. It's
Mm-hmm.
just there's these like loud voices who continue to try to pretend to be the majority, and they're not.
It's true.
Yeah.
Speaking
Wow.
of those people, they also don't know how to not call themselves out either. Have you seen the whole Drewski Erica Kirk fiasco
Yes, is
with
that the
TikTok?
like
The fact that
impersonator?
yes, and
Yeah.
it's like he never once mentioned her name, and I've seen a clip of another conservative personality that he also somewhat looks like in this video. So again, to his comment on her comment of being like, "How dare you do this? This is defamatory against me." And he's like, "I didn't even say you say your name." So like the fact that you saw me dressed up this way and immediately assumed that I was doing it about you says more about you than it does about me.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. She's trying to find herself in everything. Wow. But when she does what she does, you're fair game. And yeah.
I mean, where was
That's a
this
whole
energy when her husband died?
I know, yeah. She didn't seem that emotional. So something was going.
Hmm.
Something happened. We'll put
I
it
saw
leave it there.
I
Yeah,
saw a
no, go ahead.
comment. Oh no, I was gonna say I saw a comment that someone said, well, she couldn't make money off of the Drewski parody, but she did off of her husband's death.
Oh my god.
But also where are the lies, to be fair. That's not
Yeah.
a totally
Yeah.
out
I mean,
there.
she went on that stage right away to try to platform herself. Bizarre. Yeah, it's like even crazier than Chicago the musical with Roxy and Velma. It's like
Seriously.
a it's like the real life version, but in a
Honestly.
more sadistic way.
Mm-hmm. And on a way larger scale.
Yeah. Yeah. We're definitely living through some really interesting moments in history.
Yeah.
Moments that I hope eventually we have peace and calm in the country. Like where we're able to just like relax.
Yeah,
Not be
agreed.
like, oh, is today when Russia decides to nuke everyone?
Or Iran at this point. I
Yeah.
mean, like, it's like take a number at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. And all the citizens and every country is like, stop fighting. Like, stop doing this. Like, all of the people, the majority of us all agree. We just need these leaders to be held accountable and stop what they're doing.
And do what we want them to do. Because, I mean, that's why
Yeah.
they were hired in the first
Elected. Yeah.
place.
Yeah.
We always forget
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah. They're supposed to serve the people,
Mm-hmm.
not profit or companies or AI or Palantir or whatever is going on. Elon Musk,
Exactly.
whoever, whatever he's doing. Yeah. Well, until next time, where we have chapter 3, who knows where we'll end up in the conversation. But thank you so much, Mary. I'm really, like always, so happy to share the space with you.
Same as always. Thank you. Thank you for always, allowing me in the ivory tower boiler room, but also working on this project is definitely something different and special. So I'm really excited to be a part of it.
Oh, thanks, Mary. Okay. Bye, everyone.
Bye.